all the noise of the explosions in Hebron. And he said it's just like, no, it's okay, just a drill.
The Israeli society has no clue about what's going on in Hebron, what's going on in all the occupied territories.
The closure, curfews, it's the most something, it kill us. Always we have here a curfew. Any problems in all of Hebron, we have a curfew here. Believe me, if we hear an explosion in London, we have here in Tel Aviv, we have a curfew here.
The story of the settlers' violence in Hebron is an untold story that most media outlets, including Israeli media, would not dare to cover due to the settlers' hostility towards them. The city of Hebron is losing its residents at an alarming pace, especially in the old city. Walking the streets of Hebron, you would think you were walking in a ghost town. Before the settlers invaded, the city was a major tourist attraction due to its holiness for Jews, Christians, and Muslims as the burial place of the patriarchs. But now, the city is experiencing an organized process aimed at forcing the Palestinians out of their homes.
Sitting on a post on the roof and hearing drilling from under of you inside the settlers' houses, and you call on the radio, you call the patrol, and you say, I hear drills under me, please check what it is. And the patrol comes in the middle of the night and he found a settler that decided to expand his living room. So he drilled into the wall. He broke into a Palestinian shop. They have the same wall. He threw everything that was in the shop to the street. He locked the doors. And now he has a bigger house. No one is arresting him. No one is stopping them. The police in Hebron is afraid from the settlers.
It's frightening. I mean, it's really frightening to live here when your neighbors want you gone. They want your land, they want your home, and they're willing to intimidate and to threaten until they get their way. And the army and the police, the Israeli security apparatus that is here is primarily mandated to protect them.
They're armed, they're violent, there's been years and years of absolutely unrestrained settler violence. A settler can kill a Palestinian with impunity, with no fear whatsoever of ever being tried or brought to court or anything. And I've witnessed this with my own eyes. Settlers can go, and I've witnessed this as well, into Palestinian houses and take over the houses, or come in and burn the house down, with the police all around.
How can you do to other people what was done to you people, just 60 years ago? I visited South Africa recently, and I spoke to black people who still remember the apartheid. This is the South African apartheid. This is Rhodesia. Actually, the Palestinians, in the best case, are transparent. They don't see them. They don't exist.
The latest chapter of the Israeli policy, and especially that of Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, father of the settlement movement, is in its final installment to create permanent facts on the ground and shape the future of the Palestinian state. In June 2002, Israel decided to encircle the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, with a wall or a fence, depending on who you ask. The International Court of Justice calls it a wall. In some areas, it is indeed a 25-foot-high concrete wall, while in other areas it is a fence surrounded by razor wire, trenches, patrol roads, and surveillance cameras. Palestinians call it an apartheid wall. Israelis call it a security fence.
You can't explain the major elements of the occupation by security. You can't explain 200 settlements by security. Israel did not go out and build Ma'ale Adumim for security reasons, and it never claimed to. You can't explain the highway system. You can't explain the policy of house demolitions. You can't explain land expropriation. You can't explain really the closure, the way it's done, because most of the closure is internal, within the West Bank and within Gaza, not between them and Israel. And you can't explain the route of the wall by security. Security simply does not explain these things. Something else is going on.
Just look at the route of the wall and the picture definitely will become clearer. The border between Palestine and Israel, between the Palestinian territories and the Israeli territories, is 315 kilometers long. Meanwhile, the route of the wall is 670 kilometers. Definitely it is more than double the length. Why?
The district of Qalqilia is home to about 100,000 Palestinians and boasts some of the richest agricultural land in the West Bank. But Qalqilia has been walled in, so that Israel can annex the Israeli settlements around the district. Look at what's happened to the city and surrounding villages, how they've been choked, cut off from each other, Palestinian from Palestinian, caged in by surrounding walls and fences, separated from their livelihood, their land. The farmers of Qalqilia have become landless.
هذا الجدار برك من نص الأرض قسم الأرض قسمين وكلع كل زيتون وخرب الأرض كلها.
الزيتون لما هم يقصوا فيه حامل والأولاد تحته في الشجرة ويعيطوا وإحنا نكون إن شاء الله ولا هذا رزقتنا ما لناش إشي يعني هناك إلا هالقطعة.
אני אתן לך ברור, תזהר מזה.
دتولي يابا دتولي يابا يلا زيكون يا زيكينا مش ليش تعال ايش لكم زيكون ليش زيكون جنبي
An olive tree takes between 7 to 10 years to bear a fruit. And the Israeli bulldozers uproot it and steal it in a minute. The tree for us as Palestinians is alive. we will keep planting and we will keep on living.
The wall, of course, does not stop in Qalqilia. Its path continues 22 kilometers deep inside the West Bank, encircling and annexing the settlement block of Ariel. The Ariel block splits the West Bank into almost two pieces. It creates small enclaves of isolated Palestinian communities and destroys any chance of having a future contiguous state of Palestine. The wall continues its path, encircling and annexing more settlements and more Palestinian land, while devastating many farming communities in its path. Hundreds of thousands of olive trees have been uprooted, 35,000 meters of irrigation network destroyed, more than 40 water wells lost. In the path of the wall, there were many trees, many homes, many farms, many people, and every one of them has its own story. The story of the wall is a long and painful one, and it continues on to the city most devastated by the wall, Jerusalem, and its twin city, Bethlehem. Upon completion of the wall in Jerusalem, tens of thousands of Palestinians will find themselves outside the walls of the city, cut off from their city and their livelihood. By doing this, Israel will have succeeded in changing the demographic makeup of the holy city.
It's heartbreaking what's happening in Jerusalem. You know, at the beginning of this year, it took us months to figure out how to send thousands of children to their schools and teachers to their classes. The walls zigzag in and around Jerusalem, Jews in and Palestinians out. Mothers unable to reach hospitals to deliver their babies, children unable to reach their schools, Muslims and Christians unable to reach their holy places to worship. It is a war against our existence that Israel is waging. Settlements and the wall are the tools to achieve their obsession of Judaizing the place.
Israel is using its settlements to fragment the Palestinian presence in Jerusalem, to destroy East Jerusalem as a coherent urban and economic entity, and in that way to destroy the economic heart of any Palestinian state. It's like an onion. You have concentric circles of settlements. You have huge settlement cities. You have more Israelis living today in Palestinian East Jerusalem in settlements than you have Palestinians. And here is where Jerusalem is really the heart of the struggle, in a sense. Because without Jerusalem, you don't have a viable Palestinian state. And without the settlements around Jerusalem, Israel can't really control the entire area that it wants to control forever. So Jerusalem is really the key.
The city of Hebron is losing its residents at an alarming pace, especially in the old city. Walking the streets of Hebron, you would think you were walking in a ghost town. Before the settlers invaded, the city was a major tourist attraction due to its holiness for Jews, Christians, and Muslims as the burial place of the patriarchs. But now, the city is experiencing an organized process aimed at forcing the Palestinians out of their homes.
Sitting on a post on the roof and
In Tel Rmid we have a curfew here.
The story of the settlers' violence in Hebron is an untold story that most media outlets, including Israeli media, would not dare to cover due to the settlers' hostility towards them.
All the noise of the explosions in Hebron. And you said it's just like, no, it's okay, just a drill.
The Israeli society has no clue about what's going on in Hebron, what's going on in all the occupied territories.
The closure, curfews, it's the most something, it kill us. Always we have here a curfew. Any problems in all of Hebron, we have a curfew here. Believe me, if we hear an explosion in London, we have here